The Free Agents podcast contains mature themes and adult language. Any discussion of gambling is for entertainment purposes only. Please abide by all laws in your location regarding gambling.
This should be our intro. Can we start?
This week on the Free Agents.
We're going to see Cam Newton win a Super Bowl this year. I said it at the poker game the other night. I got a laugh. Everybody was like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy, LJ." No, they're not. And I'm like, Super Bowl team.
The show is described as Wade and his entourage of eccentric friends find themselves parenting by committee when he gets full custody of his two young sons. It's a recipe made for disaster, but no matter how misinformed, misguided, or unfit Team Wade may be, they have a trump card that can't lose. It's called love.
I'd like to say the top four seeds in the West are probably going to stay for the most part where they are. I don't see San Antonio relinquishing that one seed, and OKC is going to be stuck, I think.
Welcome to the Free Agent Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Smargy. Joining us this week, LJ and Chris Curtis are both with us. How are you doing this week, guys?
I am very, very upset.
You sound real upset, LJ.
Well, not really, but someone has to be upset for the Patriots. Nobody seems to care about the Patriots being shafted by the referees in this game. They're being treated like the Yankees get treated.
Yeah, just give one more shot in that game. Basically, and we talked about it before the show, but LJ, Gronkowski has a shot at that ball. The ball is intercepted 4 yards deep in the end zone. Contact is made probably about 7 yards deep in the end zone. Even though the contact was initiated by Gronkowski due to momentum, he still has a shot at that ball if he's not being held. Defensive holding probably should have been called, and the Pats should at least get one more shot at the end zone in that situation.
Yeah, split the difference. Give them a shot at the 13. You can't give them the ball at the 1.
Right.
I don't think the Panther fans would have gone for that.
Right.
But, the thing that everybody noticed, there was an article up on Grantland or ESPN or one of those places that said in all of these close situations where there's game on the line type plays, the home team usually gets the call. And in this case, the Panthers were the home team and they got the call. So they picked up the flag, and it was gut-wrenching. I was in a bar full of Patriot fans, and so it was a moment to really be a troll and cheer loudly that the Panthers had won, and just laugh and go and cackle and say, ha, 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 they're picking up the flag. And it was really quite a mean moment on my part.
See, I'm one of those. The thing is, if they're not going to call a penalty, don't throw the flag. If you're going to throw the flag, you have to call something in that situation. You can't just pick it up and try to offer an explanation. It's not going to work. Not for regular football fans, not for Patriots fans. The only ones who really benefited from this were the Panthers fans. And don't get me wrong, I don't think the referees beat the Patriots. I think the Panthers actually came back here, actually did the job pretty well there. They played the Patriots very tough, and if they played lousy and still ended up with this and ended up with a victory, then I would have been more, adamant about this. But I think the Panthers put themselves in a situation to kind of create their own luck, and they got a big break there.
Cam Newton is ready to quarterback the world team versus the aliens. I told you guys. Cam Newton, he already beat the Patriots and Bill Belichick. Next stop, the aliens.
Right.
Yeah, he looked ready, no doubt. Like I had said, the Patriots were not able to contain him on the ground, running around. He was running all over the place on them. That really caused a lot of havoc. As a Pats fan, certainly I want the call there, but
absolutely,
objectively, I don't think I think it's the right call because they can't. Really, what the refs usually do at the end of these games is they swallow the whistle. And I'm a big fan of that, especially being a hockey fan, which is in hockey that's very prevalent, where they just let them beat the piss out of each other in the last, 2 minutes of the game. Let them decide it. What would have happened in the 2007 Super Bowl? That jump ball at the end of the game is that, they're in each other, they're against each other, and, so you got to swallow the whistle there. Otherwise, they put the Patriots on the 1 yard line. They probably score there. It's a mess. And then you can just argue that the league's in it for the team that, like LJ says, the rest of the nation doesn't like. I also think, like you said, Carolina played a great game. They put themselves in a position to win. The Patriots were not able to do so. That ball was not that well thrown a ball. And I think Gronk really, it was more like he was trying to take a charge there where he let the guy run him off. That dude he outweighs that guy by at least 30 pounds and he's much taller than him. There's no reason Gronk should let that the defender run him off into the end zone like that. He could have easily just gave him the stiff arm and been exactly where he wanted to be.
We did look at the numbers. It was 6'3" versus 6'6" and 235 versus 265.
Yeah.
So Gronk, if Gronk was getting boxed out by that little guy, then Gronk wasn't trying hard enough. There was actually people that were saying that Brady threw the ball short purposely to try and induce the pass interference when he saw that everybody was covered. He ran out of options, and Brady just tried to improvise and do what Brady does, and it didn't work out. And now Brady just to go next week to play the Denver Broncos, who beat the Kansas City Chiefs pretty handily.
Yep.
The defense in the first half made the Chiefs in defense in the first half made Denver have to earn it. They had to throw on third down for third and longs. And Denver earned it. Denver was able to get the ball out there to Demaryius Thomas and Julius Thomas and everybody else. So they weren't able to shut them down, and Denver totally earned this victory. This was a well thought out game plan, executed very well by the Denver Broncos.
Can't really expect anything less from a team led by Peyton Manning. I called it last week. The Broncos were going to be able to handle the Chiefs. I thought it was going to be a closer game than 10 points, but when you take a look at Peyton Manning, he's a future Hall of Famer. You can't doubt him until he starts doubting himself.
He's having his best season, and he's 30 what?
Exactly.
35
on 2 bad angles.
Yeah. It's just amazing. They were talking now the Brady and Peyton Manning comparison. We're going to hear about it all this week. And I think Peyton Manning just took the lead in the Manning, the Manning-Brady race. As of right now, Manning's having a better end of their career.
Yep, I can't argue with that. Taking a look at these two side by side, at least for this year, look at the weapons that Denver has as opposed to the weapons that New England has. The weapons New England has, you have Gronkowski and you have who else?
Danny Amendola.
And Amendola, but he basically didn't show up all that well for the last couple of weeks.
And Gronk hasn't been there either. They've got some issues with the receiving corps, but Tom Brady's never had a lights out receiving corps. The best he's had was Randy Moss and Wes Welker together. That's it. Yep. That was the best Brady has ever seen.
So I think if you give Brady a couple more weapons the way Thomas Decker and Julius Thomas and Knowshon Moreno have been performing, I think you have a completely different tail of the tape per se.
A lot of that though too. You can argue the other side of the coin is that Peyton Manning makes all of those players better. That Julius Thomas in an average offense looks like a below average tight end, but in a super duper offense like the Broncos, Julius Thomas looks like the second coming of Jeremy Graham.
But you can't tell me that you put those weapons on Brady's side and Brady doesn't make them look better either.
No, Brady, this year I don't know if Brady makes them look better. Peyton Manning still makes his team look better. I don't know if Tom Brady is still doing that. At one point in 2007, yes, Brady was making people look better. But it's now 2013. I don't know if Tom Brady still has it in him.
I think he does. I don't think we've heard the last from Tom Brady. I think he's still going to carry his team pretty deep into the playoffs no matter what weapons he has. And, if they do happen to get some weapons for him, he's still a very, very ridiculously good quarterback.
All right. Now, speaking of playoffs, sir.
Yes.
The Patriots they lost this week, and their record is now 7-3. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, they're going to Denver?
Nope, Denver's coming here.
Okay.
Coming to New England.
Denver's still the favorite. Say Denver beats New England, drops them down to 7-4. Now they're right in the mix now they have to fight for a wild card or their division or the Jets. Can the Jets pull off a run here at the Pats to win their division and make the Pats actually sweat a playoff spot?
Depends on what side of the Jets we see. They've been a very Jekyll and Hyde team this entire year. Sometimes they're fantastic, and then when they beat the Saints, they were really good. And then when they
lose to the Bills,
I mean, they got trounced by the Bills by 23 points.
It was horrible. If you're a Jets fan, you got to be confused as confused can be.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Jekyll and Hyde season for the New York Jets, and because of that, I don't think they make a run of the Patriots. I think the Patriots will skate into the playoffs just fine. The Jets won't be a threat.
All right. Well, we got that situation figured out.
Yep.
Now we can move to the AFC North, where my Pittsburgh Steelers are now 4-6 because they were able to beat the Lions, who came to town and weren't prepared. What happened?
Overestimation or underestimation, I should say.
Not really, though. You came out in the second quarter and you swung right back and had an amazing second quarter. And then, I don't know, did the Steelers all of a sudden put handcuffs on Calvin Johnson? I mean, I don't know what happened.
I'm pretty sure the Lions, once they figured out, that they could score on the Steelers, they just kind of started skating by. Once they had a lead, they just kind of were content to hold that lead, and then it came back to backfire on them. Calvin Johnson didn't see the ball in the second half, which baffles me completely. Not to mention the fake field goal call, which also baffled me. But and Schwartz defended that. He will defend that to his dying day, just basically saying, if we win, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And I can buy that. I mean, it's the score was 10-point differential. So, I mean, the fake field goal doesn't really, change a whole lot. But basically through a quarter and a half, or through maybe halfway through the first quarter and into into halftime, the Lions looked fantastic. But you got to look fantastic all 60 minutes to beat any NFL team. Whether they're subpar, whether they're the Broncos, whether they're, it doesn't matter. The end-all be-all of it is that the Lions didn't play their full game, and the Steelers did. And the offensive line for the Steelers played particularly well.
The Steelers actually kept Roethlisberger on his feet. Mm-hmm. And when you keep Ben Roethlisberger on his feet, and you still have Antonio Brown, who, by the way, is having the best season a Steeler receiver has ever had. Mm-hmm. It's too bad it's on a wasted season, but they still sniff their talent. They still know they're good. And when you give them the opportunity to do it, they can put some big numbers up, and that's what they did. Roethlisberger had a huge day. Huge day.
You said the Steelers are 4-6, right?
Yeah. Steelers are 4-6 in a bunched up, mess behind the Bengals.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's another Jekyll and Hyde team. From what I've seen in the Bengals, I mean, you don't really know what version of Andy Dalton you're going to get. The Steelers actually, and pinch me, but they actually have a legitimate shot, if the offensive line can continue what they did to the Lions, to take a run at the Bengals in this division. I don't see the Browns staying where they are in second place. I see the Steelers bumping up, and I don't think we've seen the last of the Steelers this season.
Oh, God. Don't get my hopes up. Don't do that to me. I really, it hurts me to think like that, because I had resigned myself to them getting a good draft pick.
Well, go look at it this way. Your Steelers go to Cleveland this week.
Yeah.
To face a Cleveland Browns team that really isn't all that good. And if they win there and say the Bengals have a bye, then you're looking at a 2.5 game deficit.
Okay. And then they go to Baltimore, which is a winnable game. Mm-hmm. Then they have Miami coming to town, which is definitely a winnable game. Then they have Cincinnati coming to town. And then we have a tough one with Aaron Rodgers. He'd probably be back by December 22nd.
Yeah, more likely.
So then that's a tilt in Green Bay, and then, but if any playoff implications are on the line, then that becomes a massive game.
Absolutely.
That becomes, if the Steelers go on to some sort of run, that Sunday game right there is probably the Sunday game of the week that week, if the Steelers are on a run out. Because that's a rematch of the Super Bowl. That's an interesting game.
It absolutely is.
And then they close with Cleveland. So, yeah, don't get my hopes up.
Okay, I won't mention anything else about it until it actually happens. Okay?
Yes, because it just hurts. I can't start thinking like that. I can't have these thoughts yet. Because I still remember how good they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Roethlisberger threw one of the greatest passes ever in football history.
Yep.
In that Super Bowl against Arizona.
Yeah, this is the last point I'll make about it. But take a look at the game on Sunday against the Lions, and then take a look at games like Super Bowl 40. And you have two very similar-looking quarterbacks in Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
You know, he was able to stay on his feet. He was able to improvise and stay out of defensive line pressure and get the ball down the field. And that's something we haven't seen from the Steelers a whole lot this season.
They hadn't been able to keep Roethlisberger upright.
Right.
It's been awful.
Yeah, he had about 5 seconds every single play to get the ball out of his hand.
And then we had the 6-hour game where the Bears are going to stay right there with your Lions. They were able to pull off the victory against the Ravens with Josh McCown at quarterback.
Is there a delay in game, like any game with a Harbaugh, like once a year? Is there like a rule where the game there has to be a power outage or tornado and stuff if a Harbaugh is playing? Like one of them has to have a.
Does it have to happen once a year?
At least, minimum, right? Is it like contractual? I don't get it.
Yeah, look at it this way. I mean, at least you have the delay out of the way now. So if either one of them gets to the Super Bowl, we won't have another power outage.
Speaking of a Harbaugh and a Super Bowl, San Francisco lost to New Orleans.
Yes, they did, and
it dropped them to 6-4, and 6-4 dropped them into a tie with the Arizona Cardinals. Ladies and gentlemen, the Arizona Cardinals in their number 1 rated defense with Patrick Peterson and a mean front seven and the Honey Badger, who is, defensive rookie of the year. I don't know. Maybe, what's his name there? Kiko Alonso's probably got him beat, but he's got to be in the conversation. The kid has had a great beginning to his career, and I'm really happy for him because I got to root for the potheads.
Absolutely. The Arizona is a very underrated team, as I mentioned. I think it was last week, and it remains to be seen if they can overtake San Francisco for the second spot in that division. I think they do. I think Colin Kaepernick has had his confidence busted. I really, really think that. I think he had to have a really good game in New Orleans, and he really didn't do that. He didn't have a fantastic game like he's had before. So.
Colin Kaepernick has not had, like I was saying last week, he didn't have a long track record. And he wasn't a massive winner in college.
Right.
He wasn't, he came out and he had a good 6-game run or 8-game run last year, but that's all we saw. We didn't see anything else out of him. And now Harbaugh's, they were making jokes that Harbaugh was sending texts to Alex Smith. I miss you. That was the running jokes there, but I mean, oh God, I wish Arizona had a better quarterback. I really wish they had a better quarterback, because then you could really get behind that team. Larry Fitzgerald, that kid Ellington's a good running back. They got good young receivers. Michael Floyd had a huge day. This is a team that could potentially be really good. They're handcuffed by Carson Palmer's, bad decision making.
Yep. Take a look at.
They go up against. They got Indianapolis coming to their house this weekend, and so that's a winnable game for them. Then they have to travel to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia with Nick Foles coming off a bye, they're actually going to be healthy and ready to make a playoff run to try and win their division. So that's going to be a tough game and probably a good game. It's a good 1:00 game for that week. Then they got a St. Louis team that's tough to gauge, but they're going to Arizona. Then they have to travel to Tennessee, but Tennessee looks like they're a mess right now.
Yeah.
Then they have the tough game going to Seattle, of course. And then the Niners, probably to decide everything in their house. Arizona, they're like the Lions. If they continue to win, they control their own destiny type of situation.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. And I really see San Francisco just falling off the table. I can't think of anything else, any other way to put it. I don't see them making a run and even a playoff spot, like I mentioned last week. They're gonna end up out of the playoffs.
Chris is writing off the Niners. Well,
the Niners hard.
They got a get right game this week against the Redskins. So, I mean, the Redskins just can't play. That's a Monday night game. The Redskins can't defend anybody. So they're gonna start to feel better after they beat up on the Redskins. Then they got St. Louis coming to their house. So that's 2 wins to try and get their house right. But then they got Seattle, who started to look great again this week with Percy Harvin.
Yes,
who looked
indeed.
exciting.
He looked like Percy Harvin.
I am so excited to think about the Russell Wilson Percy Harvin combinations.
Did you see that one-handed grab he made?
Yes.
That was sick.
He is awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Percy Harvin is an awesome player. Now then San Francisco travels to Tampa Bay. Then they have Atlanta coming to their house, and then they finish. So San Fran has the easier of the 2 schedules.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
I agree, but
writing them off right now is that's a tough call.
I am, because I don't trust Colin Kaepernick as their quarterback. I really don't.
No Copernicus. He does not like the Copernicus.
Nope.
So then who makes the playoffs? Arizona and Carolina?
I think Arizona sneaks in. I really do.
So you don't think
I think Arizona gets a 6.
You don't think the loser of the Detroit Chicago race for the North isn't involved in that second wild card spot?
It's hard to say. I can't.
And then Green Bay can sneak back in. There's so much potential. This is you can't. I don't know, man. I don't think anybody can make a proper prediction other than Seattle makes the playoffs.
If it comes down to the West and one of the West teams getting in, it'll be Arizona. If the North takes it, and if anybody in the North takes it, fine. Then I don't think Arizona gets in. But if the West is the one that takes it, it'll be Arizona rather than San Francisco.
Carolina. I'm so ready. I mean, I don't know when the new train stops.
Mm-hmm.
The Cam Newton train, is it going to stop?
LJ, they're not going I hate to say this, they're not going to stop.
They got to go to Miami. Then they have Tampa Bay coming to their house.
The Panther is loose, dude.
Then they have the game, the big, huge game. They go to New Orleans, and then they got New Orleans coming to their house. And then they have the Jets in Atlanta. This is not a hard schedule other than the 2 games against New Orleans.
Yeah, it's very, very realistic to say.
And they could actually win the division if they go hard at New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
God, who would have thought this team was laughable? I was listening to a podcast. Robert Mays over at Grantland had written them off as not making the playoffs after week 4, saying they had no chance of making the playoffs this year. And then they went on that sick run.
Mm-hmm.
LJ, we saw a team, I kind of thought the same thing. We talked about it when we did the NFL, preview stuff at the beginning of the year. I said, well, Cam Newton is he's turning into a really good quarterback, but there's still inconsistencies, and there are inconsistencies with the Carolina team. And what I saw in this game on Monday night was a team that was in the game every second of the game. Mm-hmm. And they did not give up at the end. They, the coaches had them in this game, and they were out there, and they did not waver. And that's the thing we've been waiting to see from Carolina, to be able to say that, they are this legitimate team that we're seeing.
To counter your point, I mean, what you saw was inconsistencies before, and what you saw on Monday night was consistency.
Yeah, they have to keep that up.
They've beaten 2 formidable teams in a row. They went to San Francisco, and then they had a formidable team come to their house in New England, and they stood up to both of those teams and shined on both sides of the ball against New England.
Yep.
You saw their offense and defense have big moments.
Now, we even had a Steve Smith sighting.
Yeah. If anything, their soft schedule at the end of the season could be more of a concern for them if the coaches can't keep them playing at a high enough level.
No. The second to last game of the season is New Orleans coming to their house.
Yeah, well, that's a big game, no doubt. But the rest of that schedule is.
That's okay. They're going to stay focused. This is Ron.
I hope so. I hope so.
We're going to see Cam Newton win a Super Bowl this year. I said it at the poker game the other night. I got a laugh. Everybody was like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy, LJ." No, they're not. And I'm like, Super Bowl team.
LJ, we are so lucky we live in Western Mass and not Boston, because you would have got beat up at the bar the other night. They would be like picketing our studio. The fans would be like riding out front. Hi, folks. Did you know that Argo brand cornstarch has been the chef's choice in cornstarch for over 75 years? And you know what else? Our own Frenchie the Greek is a 5-star chef with over a decade of experience. So tell us, Frenchie, Why is Argo the chef's choice in cornstarch?
I apply Argo liberally throughout the day to reduce chafing and prevent irritation. Nothing keeps me as comfortable all day long.
So there you have it. Argo, the chef's choice for over 75 years.
Argo cornstarch. It promotes dryness.
What are you looking at this week? You got, the feature game, of course, is Denver, New England.
Mm-hmm.
Denver's this is Peyton Manning versus Bill Belichick's brain. This is the two masters going up against each other. Hopefully, Talib Akib is healthy, because I'd like to see New England be at full strength for this game, because then it would have been a lot more interesting. But I think Denver's going to be able to exploit the hole in the middle. They'll be able to run the ball and then do a lot of play action.
Yep, I can't argue with that. I think Denver wins this game, and honestly, I think they win it by 10 points. I don't think it's as close as everybody's saying it's going to be. Not going to say Tom Brady's not going to make a run of it at the end like he usually does, but I don't see him I don't see him out-dueling Peyton Manning in this game, especially with the weapons that Peyton Manning's come by in Denver.
Wow, I can't. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to have to be a shootout. Mm-hmm. New England's going to have to start shooting hard at them. They're going to have to go. I think they go for broke. Start to see a lot of passing, a lot of no huddle. Why not?
Yeah, I'm scared again this week, and the best thing Patriots fans can hope for is probably some bad weather here, like an ice storm or something. Might throw a monkey wrench in Peyton Manning's game. Yeah, that's about the best we can hope for. Is
under 40 degrees.
Happens.
Under 40 degrees, Peyton Manning is still a loser. Overall, he's a loser. That's why I still say bet against Denver in the Super Bowl, because it's being played in New York in February.
There you go.
So,
take a look at
night too.
I got another matchup for you to take a look at, and it's one that we haven't talked about yet. Do you see a rebound game for the Chiefs this week?
They have to. It's against San Diego, who has holes all over the place.
Yep.
And I feel bad for Phillip Rivers, because he can't move in the pocket.
Right.
And I think they're coming after him hard this week. And I think Kansas City wants to make a statement this week. And I think other people are seeing it as a trap game for Kansas City, because they have Denver again next week. Mm. But I think I think Andy Reid's going to focus on trying to right his ship, get Alex Smith some confidence, and Jamal Charles back on track, and get them right going in for Denver. They want to change the momentum.
The other thing that you got to look at with Kansas City is that after this game with San Diego, they have Denver coming to their house instead of the other way around this time. So they'll have the home fans behind them at Arrowhead. And really, Andy Reid doesn't have a ship that's really off course. I mean, they are 9-1. I can't really knock them too hard. I mean, I think if they did lose any confidence, they'll be able to get the ship rated for the most part if there is a falter this week. I don't see San Diego coming into Arrowhead and beating them.
Well, see, the thing with Kansas City is, as much as I've been on their bandwagon, it's a perilous bandwagon. It's got some areas that aren't shored up. They're weak in some areas, and some of it's been smoke and mirrors with Alex Smith and the defense. And when you start to see regression back to the averages for, scoring defense and stuff like that, then you have the potential for Kansas City losing a couple of games that they're not supposed to lose.
I agree. It's like we said before. I mean, the Chiefs, some of their wins have been rather suspect wins. They've been within single points. So, I mean, it's not all as fantastic with the Chiefs, but I mean, they are 9-1, so they're in the driver's seat for a good playoff position at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, after these two games, they got the one with then they go to Washington. Mm-hmm. And we know the Redskins they'll make anybody look good. Then they go to Oakland, who is starting a quarterback that couldn't even start at Penn State, who somehow threw 3 touchdowns this past week. The NFL is just miserably unpredictable sometimes. Makes you want to cry when you're doing fantasy football and gambling.
It really is.
Makes you seriously, I'm surprised there's not somebody that went on a six-state killing spree after some of these weekends that have happened around here.
Yeah, as far as the Raiders go, though, I'm not going to look too much into that. I mean, they did it against a Texans team that's very much underachieving this year. Okay. So I don't know. It's not. I'm not going to look too much into those 3 touchdowns.
The Houston Texans have some issues. I don't think Kubiak survives. I think Kubiak and Matt Schaub are out, and I think Case Keenum's the future there. And I think they're gonna move some of that because Kubiak came back, tried to reinstall Schaub to the offense, and Andre Johnson bucked. Andre Johnson went, "What are you doing?" Case Keenum was getting me the ball, and we were having success, and then he gets pissed off because Schaub comes back in. And now Case Keenum's the starter again this week, so it's like some backwards ass bullshit that Gary Kubiak's doing. His ship is fucked.
Yeah, I don't think Kube has a locker room there anymore. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as Tampa Bay or anything like that, but I don't think they're really with him.
No, I don't think they're with him at all. I think Andre Johnson showed
he's
that.
He's the leader of that locker room in a lot of ways, so.
Him and J.J. Watt probably control that whole situation over there. Probably one side of the ball and the other side of the ball. And I mean,
Kubiak's done in Houston after this year.
That would be a good spot for Bill Cowher to land in. I think Bill Cowher would be a good coach for that team.
He'd be able to coach up Case Keenum too.
Yes, he'd bring in a good quarterback coach. He always did. He had great offensive coordinators. Bill Cowher is great at hiring staff. He knows how to recognize people with good minds that run good offenses. He wouldn't make a mistake and hire a Todd Haley. Still hate Todd Haley, even after the Steelers won this week. Screw him.
Do you think Bill Cowher does come back next year?
He's got to come back sometime. I think his daughters are about to graduate. I mean, he wanted to be around when his daughters were in school so he'd go to their events and do all that stuff, which you got to respect. He made a shit ton of money coaching, and he didn't need, and he's probably making a very good paycheck at CBS.
Right.
And he only has to travel to the studio on the weekends.
It's a lot easier on your health, dude. When you start getting older, I mean, look at what happened to Kube, it's.
So I don't know if he wants the pressure back on him, but God, he would be a good person to insert into that team. Mm-hmm. I mean, or get one of those really good college coaches that knows how to run it. Because this is a system, this is a team that's ready to win now. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think they're the pieces next year. This is a team, if you're gambling on anything, you bet next year that they're a team that regresses back up to being better.
Yeah, three key pieces in that puzzle: Arian Foster, Andre Johnson, J.J. Watt.
Yeah, and then Case Keenum, who's actually turned out to be, as Bill Simmons has called him, a poor man's Tony Romo. And Romo, for all his faults, being a bad crunch time quarterback, throws for 4,000 yards. Mm-hmm. What does he have? 19 touchdowns and 3 INTs this year?
Something like that, yeah.
Romo is not having a bad year. But go ahead.
No, that was just gonna say that. I mean, Case Keenum's not having a bad year as long as he continues to progress. He could very well be a big weapon for the Houston Texans come next year. I don't think it's under Kubiak, and if it is under Cowher, then watch out for Case Keenum because he's going to be damn good.
I'm thinking Case Keenum's got a future in Houston. I think they have an interesting situation over there. They get healthy. If you're a Texans fan, don't fret. Your team may be out of it this year, but they'll be back into it next year.
How long do you think Jeff Fisher has in St. Louis?
I think Jeff Fisher has another year in St. Louis at least to try and right that ship. Because the Sam Bradford situation is not good. And they would really need, I think if they're smart, they draft a quarterback or go after one of these premium free agents that are coming out there. I mean, Cutler's going to be available. There's going to be some quarterbacks available. They need to do something over there because Sam Bradford isn't the answer, and Kellen Clemens is actually playing better than Sam Bradford did.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Kellen Clemens obviously isn't the long-term answer there, and it basically what Jeff Fisher does in the offseason will determine if he has a job at the end of next year.
He has some very good pieces on that defense. Zach Stacy's good. Tavon Austin got his head right and scored some touchdowns the last time out. Let's see what he does this week. St. Louis is an interesting team because they're in a tough division. They're in a division where they have to travel to Seattle, where they have to go to San Francisco.
Yep.
Arizona's become a good team. They don't have a soft situation. So they have to be better than, say, someone in the NFC East. Yeah.
I can't argue with that. St. Louis is a wild card in all this. I mean, they don't get talked about a lot. They don't get a lot of exposure. And, if they can make some noise, draft a good rookie out of college and see what they can do with that. So.
They have a chance to be a spoiler. They got Chicago coming to their house this week. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to keep an eye on that.
Absolutely. I mean, my Lions are hosting Tampa, and as long as my Lions don't fuck it up like they did with Pittsburgh, I think we'll be all right.
And then they have a tough. St. Louis has to go to San Francisco, go to Arizona. Literally, they are the spoiler team. They have New Orleans coming to their house. They are playing all playoff teams except for 1 week. All potential playoff teams. Oh God, what a rough schedule. Ugh. Like I said, St. Louis they do not have a cupcake situation. I mean, Jesus Christ. They went into Texans and beat the heck out of them.
Yeah. They're in arguably the best division in football, easily. And it shows, unfortunately, for St. Louis.
And they went to Indianapolis and won.
Mm-hmm.
And they went
pretty handily too, man.
Yeah. But then they've lost to Atlanta and they lost to Dallas. Ah, God, what a mixed up situation this is.
Yep, absolutely.
Mixed up. Speaking of mixed up situations, Dwyane Wade is getting a situation comedy on Fox.
I didn't know that they made sitcoms anymore. Is that true, LJ? I thought it was all reality TV.
No, sir, they do have sitcoms.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm excited. I was reading about this, and they quoted, they cited Bill Cosby as one of the influences of the old Cosby Show. I don't know, Chris, have you ever seen any episodes of the Cosby Show? You're a little younger than us, so.
Here and there, like late night reruns, but never actually had the inclination to sit down and watch a full episode.
Yeah, well, it's
kind of like
strange to watch it now. For people who grew up in mostly an era of reality TV, it's weird to see a sitcom that's scripted, that has all these like positive themes and stuff in it, and it'll be interesting to see what Dwyane Wade does with this idea.
Nowadays, sitcoms are very raunchy. I mean, it's a setup, an innuendo, setup, innuendo. I mean, if you watch something like the most popular sitcom was what? Two men and two and a half men, or whatever the hell that show is on CBS. Yeah. Even with Ashton Kutcher there, they took over, and all it is sex jokes, like one sex joke after another. Maybe a fart joke thrown in, and then maybe a drug joke, or maybe a joke about how much they like to get drunk. It's pretty much hacky comedy. Everybody can cheer and go, "Woo! I like to get drunk," or "Woo! Drugs," or "Woo! Sex," and that's all these sitcoms are. So if he's going to come out and actually make a sitcom like Cos used to do, which was funny, which was, I mean, I don't know if you remember all the little like dance numbers they used to do with the lip syncing and all that. Then he had like massive guests like Dizzy Gillespie and other jazz musicians, and then famous comedians that were on there. So he was able to instill history in there. He had African American history that was instilled into the show. They did a lot of lessons. So if Dwyane Wade is actually going to model it after that, he's going to produce something that will be huge if he can actually pull it off.
He has the influence to get those names, the type of names that you're talking about. I mean, not necessarily exactly those names, obviously, but similar influences in today's era as opposed to back in the day, per se.
You'd have to bring in a producer that was willing, because that's what sitcoms used to be. They used to be a lesson. I mean, the Brady Bunch, some of the most famous lines were, "Mom always said, don't play ball in the house," or, it was all about lessons. You had Cindy Brady learn to stop snitching.
I can't believe I'm about to make a Bob Saget reference, but look at Full House. Every episode there was a lesson, too.
Exactly. That's what sitcoms used to be. Nowadays, they don't do something with a moral. So if they're going to go back to old school, this is the way to do it. You bring in fresh characters. You don't bring in the same tired actors like NBC's doing now. You bring in fresh characters. You steal the idea of Dwyane Wade being a professional, being an upscale person. It's basically going to be that Samsung commercial come to life with LeBron playing with his kids. It's going to be a lot of that stuff. It's going to be a lot of having fun in the driveway, a lot of, watching dad on TV, and then dad dealing with going to school and then having to be the game on time or going to practice or can dad call out sick from the game tonight because the kids have the flu?
It didn't actually get a chance to read the full article. Did he say he's actually thinking about, or is he actually going to be acting in this, or is he just going to be behind the scenes?
I got the article in front of me, and that was one of the parts of the article is where Dwyane Wade basically poses the question, like, I don't know who's going to play me yet, but whoever it is, they better be pretty handsome.
Yeah.
Okay. But LJ's right on track. They're already developing this idea. So according to the article, the working title will be called 3 the Hard Way. And of course, this is based on his book that he put out last year, basically about, raising his kids and stuff. And that's exactly what it is. Here's the little encapsulation. The show is described as Wade and his entourage of eccentric friends find themselves parenting by committee when he gets full custody of his 2 young sons. It's a recipe made for disaster, but no matter how misinformed, misguided, or unfit Team Wade may be, they have a trump card that can't lose. It's called love. And there's your spot right there. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Smarge, you really should go to like Fox or NBC and do
voiceovers. Yeah.
Commercials. Yep.
Well, you know what killing the whole thing, though, is it's on Fox. And it's through Sony Pictures, and neither one of these people have rights to any NBA footage. So if you're going to do this, it really should have been done by ABC and ESPN because they have the contract with the NBA.
Right.
So ABC, shame on you. Bill Simmons, shame on you. If this project ran across, this should have been produced by Grantland. That's who should have produced this.
There you go.
Honestly, LJ, I beg to differ. I think if ABC gets their hands on it, they turn it into an awful, like, Disney-like, like Disney Channel sitcom. Yeah, like a horrible, like, reverse Hannah Montana show.
House.
I know, but like,
they were the ones that produced Full House.
Yeah, but you haven't been, I've seen more current Disney, maybe. Yeah,
but I have seen what they have on for regular sitcoms. They have one of my favorite new sitcoms is Trophy Wife. It's about Mila Ackerman getting married to some Whitney Brad, the guy that played Josh on West Wing.
Yeah.
He gets married to her, and he's got 2 ex-wives. One's a flaky hippie, and the other one's a power-tripping doctor. And it's a good sitcom. And ABC has potential. They do Modern Family. They have a chance to do a real sitcom. And if they were handed this, and you hand it to, let's say, the Modern Family producers or some real sitcom producers that are out there, you could do something with this.
Yeah, Modern Family is actually a pretty damn good show.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy that one. But
yes, you don't give it to ABC Family. ABC Family's horrible. Nobody wants any of that stuff. Nobody wants Disney Channel crap.
No.
Give it to the people that are doing what ABC is doing.
I don't think the networks have that separation anymore, LJ. I mean, you've got Marvel superheroes promoting football games and stuff. So really,
that's because
what's going on?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is on.
Yeah, well.
Is on ABC.
There's no distinction anymore.
But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is awful. It's boring. They didn't take advantage of any of the potential that they had to make that show great. You can't do it because the Avengers are out there and they're much more fun and entertaining. Mm-hmm. You would rather watch Robert Downey talk for an hour as the Iron Man character than anything else.
Yep.
God damn it. So yes, Dwyane Wade, good luck. Hopefully you cast your wife girlfriend, whatever, Gabrielle Union, because she is gorgeous.
Better make her your wife.
And so, if he's smart, he wifes up with that. But I mean, not really though. I mean,
he wifes up with that.
Any athlete, he got screwed the last time he wifed up. So
yeah,
wifing up's not a good idea. I think Derek Jeter had the right idea. Stay single for as long as possible. Though Jeter's starting to lose the hair, so he's probably going to have to latch onto somebody real quick.
I don't think he'll have a problem doing that, just pointing that out. But
Jeter will be fine. Your Michigan State team is number 1 in the country.
Congratulations.
Yeah, they are, and they survived a scare.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I think it was Columbia that came in and basically gave them a run for their money. They ended up on a late run at the end of the game, ended up stealing it for the Spartans, but it wasn't easy. That's for sure.
And we're looking at all these young rookies. Everybody is so excited by Aaron Gordon and Wiggins. And last night, everybody was freaking out on Twitter when Jabari Parker went coast to coast. He grabbed the rebound and went coast to coast for a slam and just left the East Carolina team in his wake. And you look at him, he's 6'8" with an NBA body already at the age of 18. And this was the kid that, only because he signed early, was left out of all the hype. Wiggins waited, so all the hype was on Wiggins. And Jabari Parker is showing that he's probably primed to be the number 1 draft pick. Because he can play the 3 or the 4 in the NBA, and he is just going to be amazing. Scouts are just like, yeah, this is the kid.
One guy that's not getting a lot of hype that he should be. All the freshmen are getting all the hype, and the upperclassmen are kind of getting shafted on this, is Marcus Smart.
Well, last night, Marcus Smart said, hello, remember me?
Yeah.
He threw up 39 last night.
Mm-hmm.
to crush Memphis. He was throwing up threes. He was throwing up threes and getting fouled at the same time. He was throwing up the threes. Marcus Smart was having the game of his career last night. I turned that on about right after the half, and he was, actually right before the half, and he was going off. He was having a blast.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be.
One thing that he mentioned before is that the reason he stayed at OK State was because he wanted to improve some other, smaller parts of his game, including his shot range. His jump shot range has gotten a lot better. I mean, he knocked down I think it was like 4 or 5 threes last night.
One of the scouts was tweeted out that we just went from Marcus Smart questioning his ability to shoot to questioning if he can consistently shoot. So now we know that he can shoot from downtown. Now we need to see it more consistently. And if that happens, the kid is a tall point guard. And tall point guards, or tall guards in general, are very good to have in the NBA. Just ask the Sixers with Michael Carter-Williams, a 6'6" scoring guard. This is the future. Marcus Smart is going to make a team very happy. He's got an extra year of seasoning. He's a big kid. He's not going to get beat up in the NBA. And they beat number 11 Memphis. This is not by 21 points. Go ahead.
Yeah, Memphis isn't a slouch, and OK State rolled all over him. And I'm going to call it here. If Marcus Smart can stay healthy, he will be your number 1 pick. I don't think Wiggins gets the number 1 pick if Smart stays healthy.
I don't think Wiggins either, but I don't think you can pass up a Jabari Parker Julius Randle is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
you watch him.
I still think Smart's the number 1.
He was beating triple teams. Mm-hmm. Triple teams. I mean, good Lord. Michigan State was triple teaming him. And he was still able to put the ball in the basket. The kid is amazing. And and then Aaron Gordon, who is, the second coming of Blake Griffin. The way he gets up there and dunks and throws down, and they're trying to let him handle the ball and shoot more, so he's not as one-dimensional as Blake Griffin was when he came into the NBA.
Yep.
I mean, this is, and Dante Exum still sitting over there in Australia, the 6'6" point guard that he is too. So
there's a lot of guards coming out.
There's so many good players coming out this year. You're going to have 7 legitimate All-Stars.
Yeah. 7
legitimate All-Stars probably coming out of this draft.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing to say.
Yeah, none of those top drafting teams are going to be disappointed with who they get. I have a feeling it's going to be a very, very loaded draft, and it's going to be fun to see where everybody ends up and how they can help their team.
And Joe Smart, just so you know, your Celtics get the number 1 draft pick of either the Brooklyn Nets or the Atlanta Hawks in next year's draft. Whichever one is the lower pick, the Celtics get. So in the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Garnett is now fallen off and is probably not playing well. Brook Lopez got hurt. Darren Williams is hurt. The Brooklyn Nets are primed to probably have a bad season. So Joe Smart, as a Celtic fan, how excited are you to have potentially two top 10 picks?
I am really excited to have those picks, and whether they end up being those top players, or we end up using those as trade pieces to build up, to continue to build the team. It's the direction the Celtics have to go in. The Celtics have lost some games. They had a crushing defeat the other night, and so I think honestly it's probably going to be the Nets. Paul Pierce is angry now, and that's always a bad sign. When Paul Pierce is angry, he always looks like he's wincing, but when he's really angry, it's a problem. He always looks like he's about to cry, in a painful way, like, oh, my knee. What I'm wondering is does Jason Kidd survive the season over there? Because it's getting, it's still early, but they have to. There's no sign that they're going to turn this thing around
Steve
at all.
Kerr made a great point though about Jason Kidd and Bill Simmons and him were talking on their podcast that they did. They pointed out that you need to give coaches time. Coaches he's coming out and he does not know what it's like to be a coach in the NBA. That's why they hired Lawrence Frank to be with him this year. This team, it's so bad because they have players that are so advanced in age that their window is a small window to win. But I think they may need this year to get this ship right, and then next year that the Brooklyn Nets will be a better team. The problem is they're not going to have a draft pick, and it just kills them. If they would have tanked this year and then, I don't know, just so bad. The Celtics are looking at being able to surround potentially surround Rajon Rondo with an Andrew Wiggins, Julius Randle, Aaron Gordon. You know, you have the potential to surround him with some great players.
Yeah, and not only just one of those, but two of those in Boston, with the possibility of 2 top 10 picks. So, or wait, I'm sorry. My bad.
Yes, and the Sixers have the chance. The Pelicans are looking better, but the Sixers traded for the Pelicans' top 5 protected pick in this draft, so the Sixers are tanking. I mean, God, the Atlantic Division, all the teams are under 500. Actually, I think all but 3 teams in the East, the whole Eastern Conference, are above 500. And in the West, it's the reverse. It's amazing how much better the West has been early on in this NBA season. You look at it's ridiculous. I mean, Philadelphia and Toronto are playing tonight for the lead in the Atlantic Division. One's 5-7, the other's 4-7.
Yeah, and on the other side is the Western Conference. There is not a team in the playoff race right now that is under 500.
No, and it's going to be a brutal season to get into the playoffs in the West.
Yes.
You have some good teams. Memphis is starting to get better. They've won 3 in a row. San Antonio's won 7 in a row and don't look like they want to relinquish the West title no matter what happens behind them. I can't wait to see San Antonio and Golden State play some games this year.
That'll be good.
Yes, and I can't wait to see Portland. Portland is shooting the lights out right now. I was reading an interesting article. Zach Lowe, for anybody who's an NBA fan, you should be reading Zach Lowe over on Grantland. He wrote an excellent article about how Portland's playing defense better this year. And it's just nice to see the nuts and bolts broken down. And Zach Lowe does all of that stuff. I'm not going to regurgitate it here because it's boring to talk about, but interesting to read about because he puts in graphs and highlights and everything else that you can look along with it. But Portland is a legit team. Damian Lillard can score. LaMarcus Aldridge is probably a top 10 player in the NBA right now.
Absolutely.
And putting up big numbers. Nicholas Batum is really good, and Wesley Matthews is having a beast of a year. And he's their shooting guard, and Batum's their 3. It's a good team. This is a team that Omar Asik could end up in, and this would make them even better. They need a good rim protector, and Asik would be slotted in as a starter, and you'd have to talk about Portland as a serious contender for the playoffs.
Yeah,
for the championship.
Their record says it all right there. I think they're 9-2 right now.
Yeah, they won 7 in a row against some weak competition, but it's still 7 in a row. They've been feasting on the East.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma City's sitting right behind them, and they're not going anywhere. Russell Westbrook came back early, and they still can do what they do. I mean, they're scoring 104 points a game, but Minnesota's scoring more points than everybody. 107.8 points a game is their average. Wow, Houston's average is more, 108.8 points a game.
Yeah.
Jesus. And the Clippers average 109.3 points a game.
I'd like to say the top 4 seeds in the West are probably going to stay for the most part where they are. I don't see San Antonio relinquishing that 1 seed, and OKC is going to be stuck. I think if there is any fluctuation in there, I think OKC moves up where Golden State is, and Golden State moves into the 4 seed. But I don't even know if I see that happening. I think Houston's stuck in the 5, possibly. I don't think they fall off anywhere. And I think the last 3 seeds there that are right there, I think, of those 3, Minnesota and the Clippers have a chance to kind of sneak down and possibly even, barring some issues, I think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think the Clippers stay where they are. I think Dallas is the one that moves up into that 6th spot.
Dallas. Dirk Nowitzki in the crew. Monte Ellis is getting assists.
Mm-hmm.
Monte Ellis had 24 points and 10 assists the other night.
He's passing the ball, which is something we haven't seen from him a lot in his career.
And he's playing with a good team with a good coach. And this is the first time he's played with a good team and a good coach.
Yep.
And you're starting to see a different Monte Ellis. This is a guy that could have a total rebirth of a career. Mm-hmm. He went from a guy that was hated by most GMs, called a chucker who wasn't good from 3 and wasn't good from mid-range and just had an ability to drive and put up numbers but put up a lot of shots. And this is a kid now in a situation that he's thriving in. Big numbers. As a fantasy basketball player, you notice these things.
But here's a thought for you. How about Memphis? They're currently the 9 seed right now, and I'm taking a
but
look.
they're in beast mode right now. They're looking to win. They've beaten some of their West teams just recently.
That's what I'm thinking. Who do you think they take the spot of? If you take a look at the top 8 right now, say the playoffs for on some ungodly reason begin today, who do you think whose spot do they take in that between the 6, 7, and 8, or even the 5 if you don't think Houston's going?
No. Houston's got some issues on defense, but they're still a playoff team. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're looking at it. San Antonio and God, I don't even know who to call the class behind them. Oklahoma City, Golden State, Portland. Regression's going to happen for Portland more so than anything. Mm-hmm. But I think the team with potential to sneak in and knock out one of these bottom rung teams is the Pelicans. Now that they got Ryan Anderson back, they've become a different offensive team. And they spread the floor more, and Anthony Davis is, like I said in the past, is just a beast right now. So they have the potential to go one way or the other. And they don't want to be completely good, or I don't think they have the potential to win the championship. And if they're not, and if they have an average season, they have to lose their draft pick. If they have a horrible season and they get a top 5 pick, then they get to keep it.
Yeah, I don't think New Orleans moves up. I think they realize the writing's on the wall there, and they I'm not going to say they're going to start tanking, but at the same time, I think they'll realize that they don't quite have the drive to be able to be up with the top teams. I think, like I said, I think Memphis does sneak in, and I think they sneak in the Minnesota's 8 spot.
No, I think Minnesota is going to be the team that actually moves ahead of Houston. I think Houston is going to go down to the bottom part of that area because they can't play as good a defense as. Okay. But I don't know. Daryl Morey's going to make a move. You don't know what's going to happen. Minnesota has a potential to make a move. They're getting Chase Budinger back, which adds another long shooting, a tall player that can shoot, and that offers a different dynamic to that Minnesota team. Memphis could add a piece. There's just so much going on. Yeah. Kobe Bryant's talking about coming back before the end of November, which changes the whole Laker dynamic if he can play. It's so up in the air right now. All we know is Utah's bad.
There you go. As far as Kobe goes, though, I honestly don't think he, makes a significant impact on the Lakers' record. I think for the most part, until he gets his mind right and they start, playing around him like they've done for so many years, I think it's going to be a bit of a transition period getting him back, to be completely honest.
Jeez. Gasol needs to get his head right. Because his head is out of it right now. These young players like Jordan Hill are putting up huge numbers right now.
Yep. Yeah.
Huge numbers. Jordan Hill
had a day on Sunday.
Yeah.
By Pistons.
And this is a kid that was a top recruit at Arizona. Mm-hmm. So this is a kid that has potential. He's not, he's 4 years into the league. He's 26 years old. This is the time where players come into their own.
Yep.
And
good shooters on that team. They shot the lights out in LA with a 62% shooting in the second half. They scored 64 points.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome ridiculous. To Mike D'Antoni's offense. Let's remember who Mike D'Antoni is.
Right.
He was the guy that had that Phoenix Suns team playing at a high level. And Jordan Hill is just sitting in that Amari Stoudemire role. Just sitting there, just like, okay. And then you got guys like Xavier Henry and Jody Meeks that are sitting there in that shooting guard role that Jason Richardson was in, that Joe Johnson thrived in. These are guys that, Steve Blake's thriving as a point guard because, he's a poor man's excuse for Steve Nash. But, Steve Blake is having a great season because he's playing in a wide open offense. The only one who seems to be not giving a fuck is Gasol for whatever reason.
Yep. I can't argue with that.
You may need to just, exile him, trade his expiring contract. Try and steal a draft pick from someone. Dude, the Lakers, and then run a small ball team with Kobe. Stick Kobe in at small forward because Nick Young and his other Johnson guys suck. And then just surround them all with these shooters and then get Kaman in there or even just go small and put Jordan Hill at the 5. This is a team that could do some interesting stuff with Kobe coming back. If they want to keep it wide open.
That's definitely going to wrap it up for us. So thanks everybody for listening. You can find us on freeagentspodcast.com. And you can find all our links there to your favorite social networking sites such as Facebook, Twitter. You can subscribe on iTunes. You can even sign up for an old-fashioned email mailing list if you don't like to use Facebook or anything like that. So check us out there. And stay tuned over the weekend for Frenchie's blog, Frenchie's Files, and the Monday Night Action Show as well after this weekend.